Okay, so recently I saw this article on the CBC about how these people that live in some sort of a co-op housing situation are seeing their rents absolutely skyrocket and eventually they are going to be homeless. And I purposely kind of breezed over the article because I wanted to cover it here on the channel and just see if we can learn anything from it here today and find out exactly what's going on. Because when people lose their houses, it's not a good thing. Nobody feels good about it, but unfortunately it is how progress happens. And if I'm not mistaken, this is probably some sort of a redevelopment play. Nobody's trying to kick out tenants on purpose. What they want to do is redevelop the properties, make it to a higher and better use. So an off-the-cuff article here today about Surrey real estate, but not from the particular sales side of things that I normally look at the real estate market through. But please know that if you yourself would like to stay up to date on the Surrey and Fraser Valley real estate markets, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you wouldn't mind clicking the like button to help me get this information out to more people so they don't end up in this same trap. And of course, if you need my personal help, you're looking to buy or sell here within the city or anywhere in the Fraser Valley, Lower Mainland, go ahead and book a call with me right now using the link in the description below. And with that out of the way, I'm going to plug in my earbuds because there's a video and I want to watch the video, but I also want to see exactly what we have going on here. So it is titled Closure of Surrey BC Cooperative Leaves Residents Desperate for Affordable Housing. Now, I don't deal personally with cooperatives very often. I've done one or two co-op sales in the past, but generally what a cooperative is, it's a kind of a corporation of which you buy shares into, and then you get the use of a property while you're there, usually with some sort of a rent or some sort of fee along the way. So it's a little bit different than leasehold, but what happens generally with a co-op is often the property itself is leased. So the corporation often doesn't buy the property. What they do is the corporation leases the property off of the actual landowner, and unfortunately, those leases expire. Now, when it comes to leasehold properties, I personally recommend don't touch them at all. There are some in Vancouver that are fine because the leaseholder is the city themselves and they've never really had issues. But I have seen plenty of leased land with like Indigenous bands and private company owners, and then you just don't know what you're going to get on the other side. And that's, I think, what is exactly happened, easy for me to say, with these guys here. So they're going to see a massive, it says, increase in their monthly rent. And you know what I'm going to do? Let's go down and watch the video first, and then I'll comment as we go.
So how can you go from paying $9.25? I mean, co-ops we work like dogs. Actually, we maintain the whole place.
So that's an interesting point about co-ops, just so you know. Usually the owners as a whole, you have like duty hours and like you have to go in and actually help and maintain. It's not like a strata where the lawn and everything is cut for you and your maintenance fee.
We do all the plumbing, the electricity, all of it. And that's to keep our costs down. Right. But how can you go from paying that to $27.50 or $27.75?
We were paying about $9.35 a month.
$9.35.
But we're pensioners, right? My husband works 2 days a week. And now we're going to pay $2,750.
That's tough. And you got to feel bad for them. So they're going for like $950 a month to over $2,700. I don't know what to say there. There's not a lot you can do about that. It's really tough for me because I see people get into something like a co-op for affordable housing. And I'm assuming these people have been like, these are like whatever 1970s or 1980s built co-op housing. Well, it's a 40-year lease that's up. So that probably gives you an idea of exactly when it was built. However, at that time, if you would have bought in, now sure, rents have gone up over time to get to that $900, probably would have been cheaper originally. But if you would have 40 years ago been able to take on the equivalent to that in some sort of a mortgage payment, this unfortunate lady here would have now a ton of equity in maybe a similar style of townhouse, and it would be worth $800,000 or $900,000, and it probably would have been paid off 10 years ago, as opposed to the co-op side of things where you don't actually really own anything. And eventually, when the lease runs out, we find that the rents go up.
I can't. I'm an old age pensioner. I'm 82. And there's no way we can pay that kind of money.
I've been on a wait list for a co-op, several co-ops actually, for 6 years.
Yeah, you're not going to get in. No.
Subsidized housing, I was told 300 people before my name on the list.
And the government should step up and say, we leave it like this. Leaving it as as a co-op, because the rents outside of the co-op, like I say, they would take my whole paycheck.
Right.
So that's one thing that can't happen, obviously. The government's not going to buy that piece of land. And then when they did have to buy that piece of land, which is actually part of the story here, they wouldn't just then rent that to however many people for $900 a month, because at that point in time, if the government was going to buy that, the better plan would be to redevelop that into many, many, many more units and then be able to house many, many, many more people.
I mean, my husband and I probably haven't slept a full night since this happened.
So basically, I mean, you can't blame her for that. Here's basically what's going on. This property was on a 40-year lease. So the buildings were built and there was a co-op there and they were taking care of the property. The 40-year lease then expires and the property was sold to a new owner. That owner's plan is to redevelop. There is no need for that owner to renew the lease. They're not obligated to do so. And the plan, I believe, because this is a pretty good area in South Surrey, the plan is to rebuild and build more units to supply more housing. Now, one of the ladies here was talking about how she only makes $2,100 a month. She can't afford to pay the new payments. You heard the one lady talk about how it's going from like $900 to $2,700 for her particular unit. But what's happened is the developer has said, okay, well, I'm going to redevelop this, or the buyer has said, I'm going to redevelop this property. So therefore, the lease is done. I've done my obligation, and I'm going to need you guys to leave. However, if you would like to stick around for the foreseeable future until the redevelopment is ready to go, here is your new market rents. And you may not like it, but for a 3-bedroom townhouse in South Surrey right now, $2,700 a month is actually very reasonable. It's nothing near the $900 a month, but those, in my opinion, are not really realistic at today's rents. So the reality of the situation is, it's unfortunate, but if these people could have done anything at all to get into similar priced homes in the 80s and 90s, when a house like that would have been $80,000 to $150,000, they would have been mortgage free by now. And not only would they have a ton of money to their name, they may not have better incomes, but they would have a lot more net worth. They wouldn't be under the pressures of being kicked out of their homes because they didn't own the land. So that is my argument of why we should always buy properties and stay away from leasehold and co-op properties. It's really unfortunate, but hopefully everybody here on the channel can learn from this and just completely stay away from them. They look like good deals and they are good deals. The reason they're good deals is because you don't end up with $900 a month rent in a co-op or a leasehold property if you simply just don't own the land. Your mortgage payment, if you owned it, would be substantially more than that, and it would be worth it in the long run. And I do want to point out here, it does say that, yes, indeed, the owners actually tried to, or were interested in buying the property for $15.5 million as a group and collective, but you can never get that many people together, and they're not going to come up with that sort of money. So unfortunately, they were unable to keep their homes. It's unfortunate, but this is what happens when you own in a co-op or possibly in leasehold. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments down below what you think the benefits of living in a co-op are, or if you think that, yes, indeed, you should own property yourself so no one can take it away from you. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe, and we'll see you in a couple of days.